But now let's take a look at a few samples of glass we have in our box of destruction here. This first sample, that's ordinary window glass. You see, all the windows in your home went through the same cooling process. Because all these elements had time to contract and rest at the same rate, you don't see any stress in the polariscope. Now this means your windows back home, they're all safe and stable glass. The second sample is called laminated, commonly referred to as safety glass. Now laminated is just 2 sheets of the first annealed glass pressed back to back, but with a thin layer of plastic melted in the center, holding them tightly together. And again, because this glass was annealed, you don't see any stress in the polariscope. But when we go to break this sample, a thin layer of plastic in the center is going to play a crucial role in how it breaks, so keep that in mind. Now, the third sample here, this is the odd one out. This one is quite different, though it is made up of the same basic chemical composition as the first two. This is thermally tempered glass. Now, what makes tempered so different is after the final shape and size is decided and the glass is cut out, it's then reheated. It's brought up to a temperature where it gets soft again. Then it's cooled off quickly and precisely with cold jets of air spraying on both sides at the same time. Because you're cooling hot glass quickly, the surface contracts and builds strong compression stress. But you're also trapping the weak tension stress on the inside. Remember, that uneven cooling puts a lot of stress in any material. Just like your CD case, you look at tempered glass on the polariscope. Yeah, this time you can see the stress. But if you'll notice, this one's sort of like an organized stress. See how it has like a checkerboard pattern? Now keep this in mind, because when we go to break this one, that organized stress, it's going to do something really interesting. Now, despite the mess you see here, it's actually named after the city of Bologna in Italy, where they were first discovered hundreds of years ago. And it's just a big hollow bubble of glass. It's got a small opening. There's a little hole right there on the top side. And it's got a shape shaped like an oversized egg. This is all because of how they're made. And we make these in the museum. To do that, you take a hollow blowpipe, you get a gather of molten glass on the end, blow a bubble in the glass, and hang the pipe down. Gravity will pull it into that shape. Now after it stiffens up a little, and it's still really hot, we just tap it off the end of the pipe and leave it in the open air to cool off. Now you remember what happens when you leave stuff out in the open air. The thin parts in the exterior cool quickly, but the thicker parts in the core hold the heat longer and cool slowly. So you can see again, that uneven cooling will put a lot of stress in glass. Now there is no practical use for one of these things, you guys, but as you'll see in a minute, they do make for quite a compelling glass breaking demonstration. So to give you an idea what I'm talking about, we're going to lock this into place, and this brings us to the fun part. Glass get for it on? Yeah, you sure you want to go with yes as your answer? Your family, you really want them to find out? You do not seem to care, okay. This works like a pinball machine. Now what you want to do is grab the handle, pull it back, and let them go one at a time. So why don't you put those glasses on and then start with our first annealed glass there. Okay, so if you've ever dropped a drinking glass, or maybe you've broken a window, you've seen annealed glass break. Now this stuff is stable, but it breaks into an unpredictable pattern. You get funny shapes, sharp edges, potentially dangerous stuff. So that's okay for bottles and windows, right? But you don't want to put this in, let's say, the windshield of a car. Your car moving at a fast pace, if it breaks, it'd become really dangerous. So for our safety, and for things like windshields and cars, we use the next one, the laminated glass. Now break that second one for us. All right, now you notice because laminated is just 2 sheets of that first annealed glass, it breaks pretty much the same way. You get the unpredictable pattern, funny shapes, and sharp edges. But you notice the main difference, right? It's all still in one piece. That thin layer of plastic in the center works like a sticky net. It holds all the dangerous bits together and makes it a much safer glass for us. Hence the nickname safety glass. That's actually the same technology we use to make bullet-resistant glass. Bullet-resistant, same thing. It's just more and thicker layers of glass and plastic. There's actually a sampling of a bullet-resistant windshield for you to take a look at. Really will stop a bullet. That way our assistant here doesn't have to use the rifle on stage to make the sample for you. So a little disappointed, right? Sorry, they don't let us do that one anymore. Okay, so this brings us to our third sample, the incredibly strong tempered glass. Now remember, that stuff is 5 times stronger than the first two. So if you don't get through on the first shot, you can get a couple of whacks at it. Go ahead and try and break that one for us. Oh. Wow, nice try. Really? That was not supposed to happen. That stuff is 5 times stronger. So how did you eat for 5 tips on the end of that hammer? Otherwise you're going to hit that all day long. It wasn't going to break. Like I said, we wanted to show this off, see if I can find a large enough piece while you demolish this thing. Okay, biggest piece I'm left with. You see, tempered breaks into clusters, little uniform squares that usually fall apart real easy. They also leave you with a blunt edge. You can run your finger across and you don't get cut. Now, we use tempered glass in applications where we want it to be really strong, but then if it does break, well, we want it to break in the safest way possible. So you find tempered glass in shower doors, shelving in a refrigerator, basketball backboards. It's also the side and rear windows of your cars. It's a lot like what you see hanging overhead here, different shapes and sizes. Okay, so this brings us to the last one, the Bologna vial. Now, because that's shaped differently, I'm going to have you try and break it differently. Now, what I mean is I've got a vertical hammer, and you're going to try to smash it from the top. But there's two safety tips here. First of all, you got to keep your hands on this handle. Don't hold here, don't hold down here. Because if you break it, you get pinched. It's no fun, right? Your other safety tip is more for me than for you. See, if you come up too hard and back down too hard, you're going to break the top of the cabinet. Then my boss is going to break the top of my head. Just save me that trouble, please. Keep the hammer in the box. Keep your hands on the handle. Go ahead and break that below your bottom. Right down top. Okay, try again. A little harder. A lot harder. How about with both hands at the same time? There's the power. A whole bunch real quick. Break our tempered glass so easily, you can do it. Come on, keep going. Do you know this is the glass breaking demo? So you have to break it so we can show it. Does anybody want to guess how long I got to keep doing it for?
Arvid, help.
All right, Bill, because we have a short amount of time for a show, I'm going to stop you there. I got to point out, we cheated again. You actually can't break Bologna bottles this way. See, even if I gave you a big hammer, you still couldn't smash it. These things are so tough, if you throw them on the floor, they won't shatter. They'll bounce like a rubber ball. Now really, there's two reasons why they're so strong. Mostly because of how it's cooled. You see, if you leave it out in the open air, that surface is cooling quickly. The glass is contracting. That means the Bologna vial is building the strong compression stress. The other reason is the shape. Architecturally speaking, that egg shape is very sound. You know this if you've ever tried to crush an egg in your hands from end to end. It's really tough. The same physics keeps a Bologna vial in just one piece. But we gave everybody the impression we were going to break all this stuff, right? Okay, so we're going to flip it over and expose the hole at the top. This will let us hit the same spot, same thickness, but on the inside this time. Now, the big hammer didn't work last time, so you can't use that now. You think instead you might be able to break it using only this? Not sure? All right, well, I'm going to set you up and we're going to find out. To do this, you have to be gentle. You just lightly grab a hold of the top like this, right? A little beach. And when I let go, gently drop it inside. Go ahead, grab the top. Just drop it right inside. A little higher from right. So it's incredibly strong on the surface, but incredibly weak on the inside. This is again because of how it's cooled. If you leave it in the open air, the surface cools quickly and freezes into place rock solid, but the inside is still warm. As we know, when glass cools, glass contracts and pulls. But in this case, it can only pull against the frozen outer shell. So it's pulling tighter and tighter, building up more and more weak tension stress. So it's really tough on the surface, but takes one tap on the inside, release all that tension, break that glass so easily.